Hey
And
there.
there we have it. The magic of the internet. Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I am doing excellent. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And I see you've got a guitar handy, which is great because we're going to ask you to do a lot of show and tell, shall we say.
Yeah. Sounds awesome.
So for those who aren't familiar, Tom, if you could maybe just give us a brief introduction of yourself, kind of your musical background and journey and where you've come from as a guitar player, and kind of let us know the things you're doing now. And then what I would love to do, we're going to try a new format today. I'll ask a question. We can kind of discuss that for a minute or so, and then we'll kind of break to do a little bit more playing. Everybody in the comments from the past couple live streams wants to see more playing, so I think we'll try to accommodate that. So Tom, let us know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Well, hey, everybody. Yeah, my name is Tom Anello. I've been playing guitar for about, 17 years. I am based in Boston, as you might have guessed. My username is Tom in Boston. I attended the Berklee College of Music here, and after I graduated, I just never left. I've been playing fingerstyle guitar since day one, basically, and that's my whole shtick. All just acoustic instrumental music. And in the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of music digitally, and I guess that's kind of what brings me here. So,
I don't want to call you a liar, but I've seen a Stratocaster on your channel as well recently too. So it's not all acoustic, but
that's true.
But I do see in your hands you do have an acoustic. So I think it would be amazing if you could maybe play us one of your original pieces so that the folks on the stream and the folks joining later can kind of hear what your style is, because it's really unique and it's really cool. And I think everybody wants to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm going to grab a different guitar, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to play you guys a two. Can you see the guitar okay? I'm
Yes.
looking at two squares. Okay, great. I'm going to play you guys a song. This is called Whiskey Strategy. All right.
Okay, so for everybody who's been asking for us to feature more playing in these live streams, I hope you enjoyed that. I can see all the comments below of people throwing a lot of positivity and a lot of hearts kind of bubbling up the screen, which is really cool. There was one question that came up that I do want to see if we can answer. It's a difficult one before we maybe move on to more playing.
Sure.
And I've had this question as well. And I don't want you to take this the wrong way. It seems like your fretting hand, your left hand, although the video is probably reversed on Instagram, isn't moving as quickly as it seems. It sounds like there's a lot of complex stuff going on, and it's moving very quickly. But your left hand doesn't seem to be furiously going over the fretboard. A lot like when you see really great electric players do sweep picking, where the right hand is actually moving incredibly slowly, even though there's a flurry of notes going on. What's going on in your finger style? Is that just an attribute of finger style in general, or is that a technique you've developed where there's a lot of complex things going on, but it seems like predominantly your picking hand is doing the heavy lifting?
No, I think that's actually fairly common in some fingerstyle. I mean, there are a lot of fingerstyle guitarists out there that are doing a lot with both hands. In the case of that particular song, the heavy lifting is all in the right hand.
Okay.
It's like nonstop onslaught of basically pattern picking throughout. And I'm using a lot of chord shapes with my left hand most of the time, actually. So yeah, it's definitely not an illusion. Yeah, but I think you'd find it in other fingerstyle guitar tunes as well. Like I'm thinking of a song by Andy McKee called Heather's Song, which is based around the verse, if we can call it that, is based around two basic chord forms, and all of the action is happening with the right hand. So yeah, I mean I guess that's essentially it. There's a lot of action over here, not so much over here. Astute observation, exactly what's happening.
There's some other things in your music, and especially anybody who's seen your Instagram videos or any of the things that we've posted on our YouTube, that are really cool and add some dynamics. And I'd love to maybe get your thoughts on it and then maybe hear some examples. Specifically how you use harmonics and kind of a percussive attack to add more interest. I've seen a lot of fingerstyle players, and some of it can get a little monotonous, but you do a lot of interesting things. How and when did you start to incorporate harmonics, and do you do anything kind of unique in that aspect, or am I just hearing things because it's you play in an exciting way?
That's a good question. I don't think I want to give myself too much credit in saying that I'm doing anything too crazy unique. But I mean, in open tunings, harmonics can be really cool. I mean, like if you're tuned to an open chord, right, and you're open tuning, then the harmonics are like a whole new interesting tool that you could use all 6 of them on the 12th fret, and it's going to sound great. I use a lot of that in my playing, especially in altered tunings, just for a difference in like texture, really.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's a good word for it. It's adding a texture to it.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty common. I mean, you'll see it all over the style too. These other fingerstyle guitarists are using lots of harmonics in their playing. And you mentioned something about percussion too. Yeah,
you have a way of playing sometimes. I don't know if you're cognizant of it or it's just something you do, where there's a very percussive attack, almost because you're unaccompanied a lot. I don't know if you're sort of adding in where drum beats would naturally go while you're playing, or if you're not even thinking of that. If I'm just adding something that maybe isn't.
No, it's totally intentional. I mean, there's this sound, right? It sounds like a snare, and it's there for a reason. Some people don't like it. I happen to love it. A lot of my favorite guitarists use that in their playing, and I don't use it all the time because I think it can be a bit much. But yeah, I mean that's totally intentional to like establish 2 and 4, out of 4 beats.
Yeah,
like really strongly. I think it's just kind of a hallmark of modern fingerstyle guitar, and it's one of the things that actually drew me into the style was that percussive element and like these heavily rhythmic things that make these acoustic guitar pieces sort of rock and roll sometimes, or a little dancey, and it's
because you're doing that. You're hitting like you said, you're hitting the 2 and 4, which is pretty common when you're nodding your head. You would tend to do that. So I think you're adding a rhythmic drive. Do you happen to have a guitar handy that's in a good tuning that maybe we can hear some of these things on? Is this guitar open or is this standard E? Or?
Let's see. Well, if we want to do harmonics,
we'll just tune it real quick.
Real quick.
So what tuning are you going to go to?
Good question. The tuning I'm going to use for this one is D, A, D, F sharp, A, E.
Okay.
One of my favorite tunings, actually. And I don't know. I can play this full tune for you, or I can jump into where all the harmonics and the fun stuff is.
Yeah, let's jump in if you don't mind, because I know people want to hear more examples of kind of what I'm talking about. Less me talking, more you demonstrating some of the things that we're discussing here.
Yeah, sure. So I'll play you the bridge and outro for an original song called Hydrocycling.
What's the song called?
And yeah, this is that tuning. Just really pretty open tuning. Let me just check my low strings here real quick. All right, so here's Hydrocycling, and you'll see some of that harmonics, and this also has that percussive thing going on. Great. Okay. Yeah, that's bridge to the outro, and I'm sure you heard that whole harmonic section right in the middle there.
So we're in an open tuning now. People are asking questions, and I just want to interject and say we are going to save a few minutes at the end for a Q&A. So if you do have questions, just type them into the comments. I'm saving some here. Tom has sent me some that he's gotten off social media too. If we don't get to your questions, we'll post this up on YouTube like I had mentioned earlier. Feel free to ask them in the comments section there, and we can post them to Tom's email, and he can get back to us and we can answer them. So if you do have questions, let's go ahead and address those. Absolutely. Tom, we are obviously on the Elixir Strings channel. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about strings for a second. What are your preferred gauges, and does that change based upon the tunings that you use? Because I know you incorporate a lot of different open tunings.
Good question. It doesn't change actually all that much. I use different guitars for that purpose. So my string gauge of choice are lights, 12 gauge, except for on the baritone guitar. I play a baritone, which I don't have nearby, but that uses 16 gauge strings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's
16 on the high E.
What's that?
16 on the high E.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
the high B
you're not
in the case
around.
of baritone. Yeah, they're beefy. They're really beefy. That guitar is a little challenging to play even when it's really well set up. But yeah, I use lights for basically everything. If I'm doing really low tunings, that's where I change out the guitar. So I have a guitar that's multi-scale. That has an extended scale length for the low strings that can accommodate like a drop C without it getting very floppy or anything like that.
Okay, interesting. I knew I promised everybody I wasn't going to talk a lot, and I promised Tom we'll play again in a moment. Let's talk multi-scale just for a second, and I promise I'll be brief. A lot of guitar players now are kind of gravitating towards a fan fret type of setup, which is presumably what you're talking about, yes? I see them a lot on Kiesel guitars and Ormsby's in the electric world. In the acoustic world, is that a difficult transition, having, say, the higher strings be spaced apart differently than the frets on the lower strings, or is it fairly easy to adjust to?
It's a good question, and it's one I get actually all the time about the multi-scale. The answer is no.
Okay.
I think, honestly, any guitarist who picks up a multi-scale, unless it's like, I mean, those string ranges can change a lot, right?
Sure.
You can have like really long scale length on the low string and really short on the high end. But in most cases, you don't even notice it, actually.
Okay.
Some would argue that it's ergonomic. I play it and I don't feel it at all.
Okay, I mean, fair enough. So for anybody out there, if you're looking to get your feet wet in the multi-scale extended range universe, Tom is promising you that it's not scary and you can adjust. So
yeah, you can come to me if it's a problem. But yeah, good luck finding an acoustic with a multi-scale fretboard. But they are pretty cool if you do track one down.
They are. I haven't seen many acoustics.
Yes.
In the electric world, I think they're getting a little bit more commonplace.
Oh, yeah.
But, the acoustics, I'm sure you can find a builder to make it for you if the price is right.
Yeah.
Tom, if you wouldn't mind, everybody is clamoring to hear a little bit more. Is there another original composition that you can kind of serenade us with here?
I'm going to play you guys. I'll play something new in standard tuning.
Standard tuning, all right.
Yeah, I know.
What a novel concept.
Foreign standard tuning. Yeah, this is one. This currently has no name as of yet, but I'm hoping to get this recorded for a single release soon.
Okay, so if you have a name for Tom's new song, put it in the comments below.
Yeah, any suggestions out there? I'm all ears.
Great.
All right. Nice.
All right.
Short and sweet.
So, for those watching and those who are going to watch the YouTube archived version later, if you have suggestions for Tom on what he should name this number, put them in the comments below. We will forward those to Tom, and maybe, just maybe, he will pick one of your titles. Now, is that going to be for an upcoming album release? Is there a new project in the works that we should know about?
Well, I mean, honestly, probably not. So there are projects in the works. I am thinking about releasing a bunch of singles over time and then combining them into an album, I don't know, next year at some point. But I've got a couple of new tunes that I'm planning on releasing as singles, hopefully this year.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's kind of the project. I mean, this is the realm of digital music, right? Singles are king, unfortunately. So
Sure. You could just release music whenever you feel like it, to be honest with you.
yeah, it's true.
So we do have a quick question of mine before we get to kind of the audience suggested questions, and then maybe we'll do a little playing to kind of take us out. Tom, I know you do a lot of live streaming and obviously a lot of video production work. Now, when it comes to recording guitars, and especially acoustic we're talking about here, what is your preferred method and how do you get the cleanest recordings, given that there's so much dynamics in your music? Are you strictly miking up the sound hole, or do you take a direct feed out from, say, an acoustic pickup, or do you do both?
Really good question. Well, if I want the cleanest guitar recording, I'll hire somebody. But outside
That's,
of
oh, you know what? That's probably the best answer. Okay, fair enough.
yeah,
If you were to do it on your own, which I know you do
yeah.
quite a bit
So
of.
to answer that part of the question, I actually keep it really simple for virtually everything. Live streaming is a little different, but for all the videos I publish on Instagram and everything I put out on YouTube or any other video platform, I use a Zoom H4n.
Okay, so a digital recorder.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the signal from the Zoom is really nice. And if I was feeling particularly fancy, I would blend that with de-ice or a direct, a signal from the pickup.
Okay. What are you using for an acoustic pick? Is that Seymour Duncan that you've got on there?
This is a Fishman pickup.
Okay, I'm leaning in as though you're here in real life, and I can get a better look by
Yeah.
leaning in, like a
Yeah, I got a Fishman pickup in here. That's actually brand new. That's one they sent to me just to try out. It sounds wonderful. It's a I think it's called the Rare Earth or something like that, or Power Tap. That's what it is. Power Tap.
Okay, cool. So you're using the Fishman Power Tap, and you can get a direct output from that into your recording chain, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Cool. So we do have a little bit of time here to accomplish two things. Number one, I've been kind of monitoring the chat and taking some questions aside, and we'll try to address some of the ones that Tom sent me as well. And then we'll have Tom kind of play us out, and that will sort of wrap things up here. So if you have any other questions, I don't know that we'll be able to get to those, but like I said, we'll archive this on YouTube. Head on over there probably tomorrow. Pop your questions in the feed, and we'll make sure to get some of those over to Tom if they're relevant. But for now, we do have some that have been sent in. So before we have Tom play us out, let's try to go through some of those really quickly. Hopefully, they'll be helpful for some of those watching as well. Do you, and we touched upon this a little bit, do you have any favorite alternate tunings? Now, I know we talked a little bit about open tunings. Are there some favorites that you have? Do you use Nashville tuning at all? I've kind of dipped into that a little bit.
Nashville tuning is on the list of tunings that I desperately want to play. You need a dedicated guitar for it.
You absolutely do, because I think in that scenario, you should probably string it a little bit different.
Yeah, in Nashville tuning, you use all unwound. But for alternate tunings, I use one of my favorites is DAD GCE.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not that far off from standard tuning. It's actually pretty easy for a guitarist to understand, and it gets rid of the major third between the G and the B.
Okay, so you're fixing something that kind of a lot of people don't like anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It can be used to arrange tunes. It's just got a really cool sort of severe sound to it, and it's pretty easy to play. And actually, the first tune I played for you guys, Whiskey Strategy, is in that tuning, and it just works out really well. I love it. Very cool.
Any others that are of particular note? I know you had mentioned some open tunings. Are those pretty common amongst the things that you're playing?
Yeah. So let's see. The Hydrocycling, the tune I played before on the other guitar. Yeah. That's D-A-D F sharp A-E. That's a fun tuning. I use that on a few tunes. I also like the color of that. You can do a lot of two note chords, like you're fretting two notes on the fretboard, and you get all of these interesting sounds. You don't have to use that many fingers. It's just kind of a fun tuning. Yeah. And let's see. I've actually experimented a whole lot with Dad Gad. I know that sounds obvious, but Dad Gad's famous for a reason.
There's a lot of fun stuff you can do with that. Do you delve into slide at all? Because it sounds like with all these tunings, that would kind of really delve nicely into some slide work for you.
I don't think I could use a slide if somebody handed one to me.
You can't. What'd you say? You can't use a slide?
If somebody handed one to me, I don't think I'd know what to do with it. I haven't done any of it now.
Oh, Tom, I think I know what to get you for Christmas, buddy. Oh, a slide is coming your way.
All right. Hey, I'll be waiting.
So we talked about some of your favorite alt tunings, some of your favorite open tunings, excuse me. We've seen one or two of your guitars. Now, somebody did have a question. The guitar that you were playing prior to this one, someone wants to know, is that carbon fiber, in quotes? I don't know why they put it in quotes, because carbon fiber is a thing. And why is the
Yeah.
sound hole positioned there? Does it get in the way of your strumming hand? Interesting questions.
That's a good question. So yeah, this is a carbon fiber guitar. This is a McPherson carbon fiber Sable.
Cool.
The top, you can see that carbon weave in there. The back is also like a coated carbon fiber. It's basically a bowl. Neck is carbon fiber. Everything but the hardware, basically. So the frets, tuning machines are metal, and so are the strings, obviously. Sound hole position is distinct to McPherson guitars. They're known for their acoustic guitars. That's like their premium stuff. They get into the stratosphere of price, but they recently introduced these carbon fiber guitars, but they maintained the same body design. And Matt McPherson's theory about putting the sound hole up here was that you had more uninterrupted vibrating soundboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't find that your picking hand or your strumming hand inhibits that at all?
No.
Because someone's asking, does that muffle or cover the sound while you're playing? And I would
imagine not at all. I mean,
so
yeah, no, it's never gotten in the way. In fact, it's pretty handy. So if you play with a pick and you drop it in there, it's pretty easy to just get your hand in there and dig it out.
All right. So for those of us who constantly lose picks, maybe look into, this is a McPherson, you said, yes?
Yeah, this is a McPherson guitar.
Look into the McPherson because it's easier for pick retrieval. That should be the slogan. Tom, we are kind of coming up against the end of our time here, and I know everybody would love to hear another one of your numbers to kind of play us out, if you don't mind, and then we'll kind of say our goodbyes. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely, that sounds great.
Excellent. What have we got?
So, all right, let me get into one more altered. Oh, here's another good tuning: FAC GCE.
ACGC. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so that's like a American football tuning, I guess. That's what I've been told. So I wrote a song probably at the beginning of the year, and it became the title track of an album that I released in May. I'm going to play you guys an original piece of music called Words Won't.
Oh, excellent. I love this one.
Oh, thanks, man.
For those of you who are interested in learning a little bit more about Tom, we've actually interviewed Tom for one of our recent print issues. So if you happen to catch that, great. If you want to read it online, obviously we've got a more web-friendly version of that as well. And I think we've embedded a clip of this tune too, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, cool. Okay, here's Words Won't.
Okay. Bravo. That was fantastic. You can't see them, but there's so many virtual claps going on in the comments right now.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I want to mention one thing before we say our goodbyes. There was a comment here. How does he program the metronome to know when to start and stop on command? You got to go back and watch the earlier part of the video. It's not a metronome. That's Tom's percussive thumb keeping the beat. That's what we talked about earlier, and one of the reasons I brought it up is because it is a kind of a unique inherent style that he's employing where that beat keeps going and he's keeping it himself. There's no metronome, no click track, no pre-programmed beat that he's playing along to, as far as I'm aware.
No, you're absolutely right.
Tom, I want to first of all thank you so much for joining us here, and thank you for speaking with us in the past. It's been a pleasure. I hope the folks watching today and in the future were able to learn something. We're able to learn a little bit about you, your style, and we're just kind of entertained because you're obviously a wonderful performer. Where can people find you online? What are your preferred platforms?
Yeah, well, thanks. Well, my preferred platform is probably right here on Instagram. Actually, I post a lot of video content. And second to that, I stream 3 mornings a week on Twitch. I'm live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays starting at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch. My handle there is Tom in Boston. No dots, no spaces. So if you're looking for more of me talking at you and some acoustic guitar, then that's where you ought to go.
Awesome. So stay here, Tom in Boston with the dots on Instagram. If you're over on Twitch watching people play video games, take a break. Watch Tom Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the mornings. Tom in Boston, no dots, no breaks. You'll find him there streaming on Twitch. You can get that on your Amazon Fire TVs too. That's how I stream it. Tom, thank you so much again. Hopefully we'll be able to speak and hear you play again some more in the future. But until then, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, everyone.